Hibu, Haq, Salam, Hurriyatun wa Adal. I greet thee in Arabic, love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. My name is Khalid Amin Rabe, your host. Greetings. I wanted to talk to you today a little bit about that Messiah figure. Everybody's talking about the Messiah figure. My boy Blackman Mirage actually dropped a tape regarding the Messiah figure, how so-called black people love to find somebody who's wise and bright and has all his consciousness and is in tune with the ancestors and the spirit and all that, and like to heap all of their burdens upon his shoulders and ask him to take them to the promised land, while they just sit up on their back and they don't have to change their consciousness, they don't have to change their ways and actions or habits or patterns of thinking, they don't have to get their paws bloody, the uncircumcised lions. They think that they can remain sheep and still get the lion's share. And I'm not being pessimistic or anything like that. I'm just saying that that's how the Christ is received in the so-called black community, in the state of the fallen Moorish community. I want you to reference the Quran, the Holy Quran of Mecca. And if you read that book, as Muslims or Muslims do every year during the month of Ramadan, over 30 days we read the whole 1,000 pages if you're reading in English, and Jews by Jews, of course. If you read the book, then you'll see basically in each Jews, it's going over a story of a prophet that was sent to a rebellious people, a rebellious group of Moors who wanted to basically sin, drink, and forget the God and just basically do their own thing. And God sends the higher self, the original one from which everything came from, sends a prophet of light to go and remind them to return to the higher self, return to the spiritual consciousness, and shuck off the carnal consciousness that has them mired, that has them stuck down here in the sunken place, in the abyss, on planet Earth. And they usually crucify him. They usually ridicule him until it's too late, until the chastisement that was promised to them is upon them. And they're like, oh man, where's the Christ? Where's the Christ? That's kind of how like black people are. They didn't pay attention to any of the prophets. They didn't pay attention to Noble Drew Ali while he was on the earth. They didn't put all their support behind Marcus Garvey while he was on the earth. They didn't put all their support behind Elijah Muhammad, who was trying to complete the works. Nowadays, they'll ridicule the Moors for bringing the truth. You know? So, like, the prophets, the messiahs, the Christs, they're always ridiculed. And that's how it's always been. That's how it's always been. So, sometimes people get the light, they get the truth, they get the knowledge, and then they get an understanding of the people that they're supposed to be redeeming, and they're like, man, these people are real sick. These are demons. They love being stuck in physical bodies. They love being on earth. They love just regular mundane consciousness. They ain't trying to rise up to no higher plane, you know? And so sometimes they'll sacrifice themselves, like the 33 energy. If you're into numerology, which you should be, look into the number 33, life path 33. That's the number of the Christ. Jesus began his ministry at 33 years old. Well, I mean, he completed his ministry at 33 years old. He was crucified by his people at 33 years old. So ain't that something? There's 33 links in the spine as well. So, like, that's linking in some occult stuff. But basically, the number 33 deals with self-sacrifice, martyrdom for your people, extreme compassion, almost to a fault. So, the Redeemer, he comes, but part of the mythos, part of the sacrificed God mythos is that he comes, but his people receive him not. I came to my own, but they receive me not. The Son of Man comes to Jerusalem and hasn't a place to lay his head. Ain't that something? You know? So I actually wrote a poem. It's called The Samaritan, and it deals with that mythology. So if you'll indulge me, I will actually read that to you. I think I wrote this back in Sagittarius, December 8th. So, The Samaritan. Trying to be the Samaritan in a world of scheming crooks, seeking out the gnosis in a room of molding books, looking for a partner with a mind and more than looks. I promised I would triumph no matter how long it took. born to be a knight in a game that's run by rooks. The great seal is peeling and my sleeping people kneeling, shouting prayers to idol gods hiding in the ceiling, while the culture-stealing vultures grin before them with no feeling. I try to spread the truth, but it sends Asiatics reeling, because they're drunk on wine of reconstructed histories that turn divine and natural birthright legacies into fantasies, and scientific spiritual realities into mysteries. Talk about ancestors, they call them used-to-bes, work for the same colonists who overthrew the dynasty, the children of Yaqub assuming colorable jurisdiction over branded blackened Moors with no cultural convictions, preaching civic principles to those without vision, the mythic Hiram buried in a North American grave, fallen from his height as God to all time low as slave. His bride has no respect and his child will not behave, and still he thinks by Jesus his nation can be saved, and so he prays and prays and all hope withers away. No European God-man will come and save the day, just a Moorish Samaritan passing by your way, sharing light and love in gradual degrees and rays, to counter insidious demonic matrix spells intended to turn Earth into a Eurocentric hell. Our Eden burns, the Moors must learn just why it is they fell. Falsely educated, locked in ideological cells, incognizant of their own latent genetic supremacy, global melanated empires scrubbed from human memory, with their disrespectful descendants spitting on the legacy. Mental slaves brainwashed to reject being free, with no honor for mother and father of humanity, tossed on tempest whim of Roman antisocial tendencies, the victims of materialism and their own vanity. A good Samaritan, loving even those who branded me, Negro, colored black, to steal my land and kill the man in me, smart enough to never let a colonist be friend to me, and recognize the lie in any pamphlet they try handing me. My jihad is spreading truth, the only cure for blindness, the only savior coming, my gift to all the mindless, lost, weary, desperate Moors struggling to awaken, to try stave off Race War 3 in the making. Pharaoh, O Pharaoh, let my people go. Let them enter Canaan land and rediscover hope. Let them fight the wilderness and conquer fear and death, and realize the truth has always been within the self. So, of course, the poetry speaks for itself, but it's basically expressing a sentiment that I feel and that a lot of conscious Moors are waking up. Because if you listen, if you're paying attention to the currents, you see that a lot of the Moors that are waking up are younger Moors. Because the older Moors, they were, as Father Allah of the 5% Nation said, the older Moors were stiff-necked and rebellious. They didn't want to give the light to the people, a light to the children, to the babies, in the language that they needed in order for them to prosper and deal with their problems. So that's why the Messiah comes, in order to redeem the babies, to save the babies, to save the future of the Moorish nation. Because the old are already on their way out. There's a song by by Immortal Technique, great rapper, who said, in 100 years from now, everybody living on this planet will be dead. So it's inconsequential, all the bullshit that you talk, all the bullshit that you stand for. What's more important is what you're ready to build, what you're ready to pass down to the children, what you're ready to create. And that is entirely true. So the old are stiff-necked and rebellious. They're still worshiping false gods. They're still worshiping Yaldabaoth, the demiurge. They call him Allah, they call him Jesus, they call him the Father and all this shit, but they're just worshiping a false god, a lower level energy, and they've rejected the ancestors. So they're cursing Satan, they're cursing their fallen ancestors who sunk into the sunken place. And they're stuck in the sunken place, and they love the sunken place. They think the sunken place is the Garden of Eden, but it's hell, yo. It's hell. It's hell down here for young Moors. But the young Moors are waking up. The Christ energy is coming through the young Moors. If you go through Chaz Miraj's playlist, there's this one tape where he deals with the the Heru mythology of the single mother, or the Mother Mary giving birth to the young Christ who doesn't have a father. He doesn't identify with his mortal father, because his true father is the Father Allah, or the Father of Heaven. He's connected back with the Most High. So like that's the same thing with like a lot of these young Moors, probably I'd say like age, just being born, the age of like 25, 30, 35. Like the young ones are the ones who's bringing this new light to recycle and to stir up the ethers once more. You know, the Christ principle is stirring once more in the ethers of time. And like the young ones, when they're coming on here, they will be feeling a little bit of stress. They will have a little bit of angst and anxiety and a little bit of pissed offness. They will be cursing their parents who didn't really prepare them enough for this shit. They will be cursing their parents who slept in the 70s and 80s and just were so happy to integrate and be able to drink in the white bars and be able to get a white person job and to be able to go to white universities and be able to date white women and white men like they want out in public and shit. They will be pissed at y'all niggas for selling out your community for a bowl of lentil soup. Like, of course they gonna be a little furious, you know? But again, that fire is part of the Christ energy. I'm actually gonna read you a portion. I hope you have both of these books. This is the Holy Quran of the Moorish Science Temple of America. Fundamental if you call yourself a Moor, because the Noble Drew Ali, he's like the Christ of this age, you know? He came in 1913 to his people, and most of them received him not. Most of them still haven't heard of him. So like, and this is the higher degrees. These lessons are also to be found in two other books. The Aquarian Gospel of Jesus the Christ. Not Jesus Christ. Jesus is also a Greek name. You should know that. But Jesus the Christ, which is, meaning he was an incarnation of the Christ energy. But the Christ, again, is just your sleeping soul that you wake up and redeem yourself to. But anyway, from this book, which is a higher degree of the Circle 7, dealing with more adept principles, I want to read a short portion. At what time? It's about 12 minutes. I'm going to read a short portion. This is, Jesus is basically, Yehoshua is at a feast, and they're like, oh, the prophet came. Oh, so he's the Prince of Peace. So now it's going to be an age of peace, right? And this is his response. This is chapter 13, mystical occult number 13 of the Circle 7. I mean, of the Mysteries of the Silent Brotherhood of the East, or the Red Book, excuse me. My bad, Morse. Still getting used to this whole thing. Sharing gnosis. What a novel idea. What a wonderful ability. Chapter 13. Yehoshua's holy answer to Lama'as. Now, after they had dined, the guests and Yehoshua all were in a spacious hall in Mary's home. And Lama'as said, "Pray, tell us, Yehoshua, is this the dawn of peace? Have we come forth unto the time when men will war no more? Are you indeed the Prince of Peace that holy men have said would come?" And Yehoshua said, "Peace reigns today. It is the peace of death. A stagnant pool abides in peace. When waters cease to move, they soon are laden with the seeds of death. Corruption dwells in every drop. The living waters always leap and skip about like lambs in spring. The nations are corrupt. They sleep within the arms of death, and they must be aroused before it is too late." Excuse me. In life, we find antagonists at work. Allah sent me here to stir up unto its depths the water of the sea life. Peace follows strife. I come to slay this piece of earth. The Prince of Peace must first be Prince of Strife. This leaven of truth which I have brought to men will stir the demons up, and nations, cities, families will be at peace with themselves. The five that have been dwelling in a home in peace will be divided not. The two shall war against three. The son will stand against his sire. The mother and daughter will contend. Yea, strife will reign in every home. Then self and greed and doubt will rage into a fever heat. And then, because of me, the earth will be baptized in human blood. But right is king. And when the smoke is cleared away, the nations will learn war no more. The Prince of Peace will come to reign. Behold, the signs of what I say are in the sky, but men can see them not. When men behold a cloud rise in the west, they say a shower of rain will come, and so it does. And when the wind blows from the south, they say the weather will be hot, and it is so. Lo, men can read the signs of earth and sky, but they cannot discern the signs of the holy breath. But you shall know. The storms of wrath come on. The carnal man will seek a cause to hale you into court and cast you into prison cells. And when these times shall come, let wisdom guide. Do not resent. Resentment makes more strong the wrath of evil men. There is a little sense of justice and of mercy in the vilest men of earth. By taking heed to what you do and say, and trusting in the guidance of the holy breath, you may inspire this sense to grow. You thus may make the wrath of men to praise Allah. And Yehoshua went his way and came unto Bethsaida and taught. So what is he saying there? Basically, he's saying that the Moorish nation is sleeping right now in the peace of death. While their men and women are divided, this silent gender war that only a few conscious brothers on YouTube are talking about, this droves and droves and droves of homeless black men, the nomads, the nationless ones, Hiram, being crucified again and again on a trail of tears that's never stopped. The crucifixion, the persecution, the crusades against the Moors never stopped. Y'all just stopped fighting against it. Y'all just stopped talking about it. Y'all just stopped caring about it. When it's your own fucking problem. I was having a conversation with one of my friends, actually one of my family members, just today, and basically we were talking about like the curse of wisdom. Chaz talks about this in one of his recent tapes too, but the curse of wisdom, because when wisdom, when knowledge comes unto you, and now you understand, and you can see more clearly the bullshit inside of the world, the bullshit inside of yourself. You can see the spirit world and the physical world. You're dealing with spirit forces and physical forces. And now the angels, the demons, the ancestors, those yet unborn, the Most High himself, they're coming to you and relying on you and trying to incarnate through you to put things back into order. But everybody else around you is asleep. So that the mantle, the scepter of power, the scepter of the Christ is given unto you. Now you've got to go and redeem people. When really you just may want to be just a normal guy, but you're a normal Moor, but you don't have a nation no more. So now you have to take upon yourself the responsibility of fixing something your fathers and mothers should have been fixed, and now they're sitting tight on their pension, or not. I mean, they're well off or not. But they ain't ready to fight no more. Man, I'll tell you what, my mother and my father, my father, he's off in the wind somewhere, like most of y'all's. My mother, she's about like 60, 64. She's the brightest woman I ever known. Like, she brought me here to earth to do things that she wanted to do. So basically, I'm like an incarnation of her here to manifest her will. You can believe that shit, because the woman creates the children that she wants to live the life that she wants to live. That's another lesson that was picked up from one of Chaz's tapes, and I'll be mentioning Chaz because I got a lot of my understanding through going through his playlist and doing the alchemy myself. So sometimes I might even reference one of his tapes in the description box just so y'all can have that reference, because he put in years of his work, his life into making those tapes for us so that we can have like basically going through that Christ archetype again, sacrificing himself for the betterment of his people. But yeah, I was talking about my mother. Oh yeah, but my mother, yeah, she's older. She's like 60, 65 right now, yo. She's not trying to actively redeem the Moorish nation anymore. So it falls to the youth. The old are stiff-necked and rebellious, and they're mostly ignorant too. They're not going to take this if they couldn't do it in all the years through the 60s, the 70s, the 80s, all the way up to 2018, the fucking future, the space age, the age of Aquarius, if they haven't solved this shit by now, they ain't gonna fucking solve it. So it's incumbent upon the young ones just rising up to solve their own social, political, financial, and spiritual problems. So the babies ain't gonna contend with this shit. Let me ask you a question. You really want your grandbabies to be dealing with the same old bullshit as you did? You want them to have no nation, no nationality, no respect globally? You want them to have no one to turn to? No father, no mother, no nothing? You want them to have no inheritance, no legacy? You want them to grow up in the same ignorance as you did? You want them to have to fight tooth and nail for every little piece of shit that they got? And to have a European accuse them of some shit, and because they ain't got no nationality, that stuff's just taken right away from them? No, of course you don't. Like, you're coming into this light and you want to shed it to everybody. And I'm here to tell you, that's your burden. That's the burden of one who gets knowledge. Like, it's like if you go and read Ecclesiastes, Solomon, who had all the knowledge of God, basically the light was given to him, the scepter of knowledge was given to him, and he basically wrote down there, or the character that they ascribed it to him, but he basically wrote that knowledge ain't all it's cracked up to be. With one who increaseth in knowledge, increaseth in sorrow. But that's the lot of you Moors. That's the lot of the 33 to Christ energy. And that's the energy that's coming back to baptize this fucking earth in blood. Like, basically, World War III is coming. It's already started. And it will touch America's shores this time. To be honest, America has only had a false peace. They just haven't been publicizing the silent war that's been going on amongst the nations, the nationalities, and basically the Inquisition against the Moors that never stopped. But basically, this war is coming. It's already here. And it will be bloody. It'll be a spiritual war, an intellectual war, a physical war. So y'all are going to have to bruise your knuckles a little bit. If there's a red button close to you, grab that motherfucker. You know? Because we got to put this shit right for the babies. Hibu, Haq, Salam, Huriyatun, Adil, which means justice. If love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice are compromised, if love, truth, peace, and freedom are compromised, then the scimitar of justice must be redeemed. So take that shit to heart. I only curse because I want you to pay attention to the message. Peace. We got to complete the work. Don't let our prophets have died in vain, Moors.